If you're over 40 and frustrated with stubborn belly fat, there's something surprising you should understand. Your body may actually be protecting that belly fat on purpose. Not because you're lazy and not because you're undisciplined, but because your metabolism is responding to signals of metabolic instability. And when the body senses instability, it becomes protective with stored energy. Here's the thing, most disciplined men respond to belly fat the same way. They eat less, they add more cardio, they increase training intensity, and they try harder. And sometimes that works for a brief moment. But eventually the progress slows right down, or the belly fat simply refuses to move. And that's when many men start wondering if something is wrong with their metabolism. And here's the real kicker. After 40, the metabolism becomes much more sensitive to stress signals. Work stress increases, sleep becomes less consistent, and recovery takes longer. And when aggressive dieting, excessive cardio, or long fasting periods are layered on top of that stress, the body detects a potential survival threat. Now, when that happens, the nervous system shifts into what we call metabolic protection mode. Now, in protection mode, the body begins conserving energy. Stress hormones like cortisol rise, energy expenditure becomes more efficient, and fat release slows down to a crawl, especially around the abdomen. And this is why belly fat is often the last place fat loss occurs. Abdominal fat is one of the body's preferred energy reserves during uncertain conditions. So when the body senses metabolic instability, it protects that reserve. Now, the real problem is that many men respond exactly the way they did in their 20s. They double down, they eat even less, they increase cardio, and they train even harder. But every one of those actions increases the same stress signals that triggered protection mode in the first place. So the harder they push, the more resistant fat loss becomes. You see, after 40, fat loss isn't driven by forcing a bigger caloric deficit. It's driven by restoring metabolic stability, consistent sleep, predictable fuel timing, strategic training instead of constant intensity, and reducing unnecessary stress signals. When the body senses metabolic stability again, cortisol normalizes. And when cortisol normalizes, fat loss becomes cooperative again. So if you're over 40 and struggling with stubborn belly fat, the issue may not be discipline. It may be metabolic protection. So if you want to understand which metabolic signals may be blocking fat loss for you, make sure to take the metabolic assessment linked below in the description or at the top of this channel. It's going to show you which metabolic switches are offline and which ones are still working. Remember, after 40, fat loss responds to metabolic stability and not force. Let's rebuild your metabolism.